Moto-saw is all set up. What pickguard material did he go with? Now this one's really cool. He's gone with a black pearl pickguard material. Now this is going to contrast really nicely with the black on the pickups and everything else that I'm putting in there. So let's get the template on, draw around it, and I can go from there. So that actually fits really nicely. Like, it feels like it's a little bit tight here, but doesn't actually affect the pickup. It's exactly as it should be. It was a really nice fit. I knew it was going to be, but the color combo on them as well, like, because of the logos, it gives me the 8185 vibe, but it's not. It's a humbucker and a single coil. And not only that, there's some really cool features about this. So I'm going to bring you in closer. I'm going to take a look at it, and we'll just talk about some of the stuff that comes with this pickup and the plan for the wiring on this guitar. So as you can see, the Alexi pickup itself, I've not really touched on this, is a passive pickup, the same as the S3. But so far you haven't seen me drill a ground hole. Now there is a reason for this, and I think this is absolutely genius on not only Alexi's part, but on EMG's part. This pickup and this set comes with this control right here. Now this is the ABQ preamp control. So these three little connectors here, that's your EQ balance. Not only is it a volume control, it also has a push-pull. Now the push-pull doesn't affect the EQ, it affects this thing right here. That is a gain boost control. So what the push-pull does, it activates and deactivates the boost. So whilst it's up, it's deactivated, down it's activated. That's just insane. Like, this is 3 controls in one little unit. Because of this, this is actually an active system. So this comes with, now this red wire, I'm going to admit, this actually came off of my afterburner, because unfortunately it wasn't in this packaging. It might have been a mistake, but the S3's, any passive pickups, can be used with the active preamp systems. So in these instructions, you will see that it can be done just with the Alexi pickup, which is how he originally had it set up, so just one. But as we go on to the next page, we have it with 2 EMG HZs, which is technically what we've got. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to get all these mounted in. I'm currently waiting on Crouch coming around just to double check this, just to make sure that the shape and everything, if there's any alterations he wants me to do, hopefully not make it wider. No, I think he wants to take it in a little bit, but once he's happy with it and finished it, you'll be seeing that soon. But I figured while I wait, I'm going to get these controls added, and then I'm going to talk about the switches, because I've got something really cool planned for that. may be wondering what these two holes are going to be for. This is something I've touched on before in my Zelda guitar, but I never really explained it. So let's get into the studio and show you the switches, and I can get them soldered up at the same time and explain how it all works. Alright then, so here we are back in the studio, and as you can see I'm ready to get some soldering done. These aren't going to be your traditional switches. Well, what are they going to be? They are going to be two single pole double throw switches. Now, this guitar that is right in front of me in my Zelda build, I used this as a practice to figure out if doing something like this would truly work with the EMG system. Now, I did obviously do some practice. Now, I keep these just as a frame of reference so that I don't get it wrong. I did get it wrong on that one, but that's a different story. So I use those as a frame of reference just to make sure it's right, but it shouldn't work with the EMG system, but it does, and it's really cool. So I'm going to stop chatting though, and I'm going to get these switches soldered, and then I'll explain how it works with the system, and I've got a few errors to correct from my last video, so let's get some soldering done first though, shall we? So the way these switches work is the center lug on the switch is the hot connection, and the outer two lugs in this application, one's for the ground, the other is for the output, following the same colour coding as EMG do with their diagram. So the first wire that you see soldered to that center lug is a white wire. This is for the bridge pickup. When it comes to the neck switch, that one will be red, representing the neck pickup. Then it's just a case of adding the black wire and then the green wire. Now, the bus that is supplied with the EMG kits is what makes these switches work. So for now, after I've added this green wire, let's repeat the process for the neck pickup, and I'll explain more soon. And with this last wire installed, that's all the coax cables done, so it's time to move on to the switch wires. And the first thing I had to do, I had to twist the output wires together. That's because there's only one terminal for output on the bus. Beauty part is though, there is two terminals for ground, so if you have an old school switch that you have a secondary ground wire, you've got it sorted there already. There's no need for a bridge ground because this is an active system. Then our last two terminals on the bus are for the bridge and neck pickup. And that's it, that is everything wired in. So all that is left is to just double check the position of the switches and connect the battery. So now it's time for a tap test. Alright then, that's everything installed. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I did do a little quick test just to make sure everything worked. I had a few grounding issues because I didn't tighten those properly, because I forgot where I put this. So that was fun. But everything's in, everything's turned on. Now I'm currently running through my Line 6 Spider 4, which is just behind my USB mic that I'm using because I'm a daft and I left my lapel mic in the shed. But anyway, so hopefully you can be able to hear all this. So let's just make sure those two switches are on. Yes! Alright, there you go. Wow, you really can hear the difference between the humbucker and a single coil. So, I knock this switch off here, kills the signal to the net pickup, and keeps my signal to the bridge pickup. Alternate those. Bridge pickup dead. Neck pickup's alive. Let's just make sure, let's turn both on. Yeah, that works. Oh, wrong one. Well, that means the tone works. Cool, and then just double check the tone again. Sweet. Now, again, I'm going to be brutally honest with you guys. There is a bit of a weirdness that happens. So, we have the gain boost on. Turn both pickups off. So that's one off. Now you can hear, pretty much silent. Now turn this one off. I'm just going to put this a bit closer, the mic a bit closer so you might be able to hear it better. I've got a bit of a weird hum now. The weird thing is, I'm going to hold that a bit closer again. Take the gain boost off. Nothing. Now, this is probably because I'm being crafty and I'm using two single pole double throw switches, twisting an output connection together and putting it in that terminal. But I have the same setup on the Zelda build, but the Zelda build doesn't do that. It did initially, but now that I've switched the gate round on my Line 6, I don't hear it. So the only thing it is purely because of this gain boost. Because I mean, the gain boost is off. Both pickups are off and it's dead silent. I turn this on, I get a bit of weirdness. So it's basically it's just grounding itself out. So I'm touching every part of this guitar and it's doing it. So, you know, I have to give guys a heads up, let him know, you know, you can't turn both pickups off without gain boost being turned off, but he uses one pickup at a time anyway. And this is the thing, when they're both on, even with gain boost active, dead silent. So, yeah. I'm really happy with this tap test. Like, I'm really proud of how this has worked now, just in case I catch anything while I'm doing this. But there you go, you turn your volume off. Hold on. Anyway, few amendments from the things that I messed up in the last video. So, what I mentioned about this ground wire here, I kind of got it wrong, explaining where it needed to go. I said the tone control. After reading the instructions, it goes into your volume control and then you're all grounded. In regards to grounded, I didn't really explain it properly, so traditional passive pickups need bridge ground. When you switch to EMG solderless connections, rather than you having to completely redo the wiring, or solder your pickups in and take all these connectors off, this is what they supplied you with. So obviously that goes into there, goes into your volume control, and then your bridge ground goes in there, and that's it, you're all done. Like with the active systems, you don't need to worry about that, because it's, you know, every single guitar I have doesn't have a bridge ground. That have active pickups, I have one guitar, which is my GGBO build last year, that is a passive pickup setup. So yeah, so you don't need to worry about that. And then also the really cool thing about this tone control, when you use significantly different value controls for humbucker and single coils, or like, you know, then it could cause issues. Well, now, I knew this going in that it was going to be fine, but then I looked at it properly and I was even more amazed. So it might take me a second to get this view properly for you guys, but if we look at this tone control, there you are. That tone control there you go, you can see it just there at the bottom edge. So it's 250, 500, so that will work for my humbucker and single coil setup. That's just absolute genius on, again, EMG and Alexi's part. Anyway, I've talked too much now,
But yeah, that is everything sold on. So I am finally going to be moving on to getting this thing shaped. Now, I've got a funny one for you, but I'll talk about that when I get to the shaping because it requires a little bit of extra detail. So that is everything done. Everything will be posted on my socials, so like any updates or anything like that, they're all linked down in the description. Also in there is the link to my profile on the Great Guitar Build Off website. This is how you help me raise money for Jess's Fund and Crimson Guitar School Literary Scholarship. Right, get everything undone, keep all that inside. Let's take this bad boy back in the shed and have some fun with it.